And for as long as you keep telling yourself that you don't need to go to church and it's fine when it's just you and God, the enemy is going to have a time with you. He's going to play you like a fiddle. Like, this walk, you cannot, should not do it alone.
First thing I want to say before I start this video is some of us did not leave God, we left the church. Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. I am Lynn, and today I want to talk about something that I have been thinking about for a while now, and it is my choice to no longer go to church. And it's funny because we are going towards Easter. Last year I made a video about the purpose of life, and it was around Easter time too. I was talking about what it means to find purpose in Christianity and in God. Basically, just summarizing how it is very difficult to give all of your life choices to God because you don't know what the answers will be to certain questions. And this year, I just want to talk about something that is seen as very controversial and people are moving towards. So, just for clarity, I will not touch on mega churches at all. I do not know how they operate. I've never been to one, so I'm not going to be talking about that at all. I'm just talking about the basics of churchgoers and how I feel about going to church. I am from a very religious family, and church to us, I wouldn't say that it was strict, but we were all Christians, meaning that you had a choice to go to church or not. And there was a period of time where we just didn't, or one of us did, or some of us did, or everyone did go to church. For example, there was a time where we all went to church, but different churches. So I was Catholic, and then my mom would be going to Clap and Tap. I don't know what it's called. Is it Methodist? I'm not sure. I have to find out. I will correct myself on the video. But we would all go to church, but different churches. But essentially, they sort of preach the same things and have the same principles and values and so forth. And I didn't really find it to be a bad thing. To this day, I don't regret going to church. I don't see it as, oh, I should have done something else. I don't see it that way because I really feel like there are a lot of things I've learned in the church. For example, right after high school, I went to work at a Catholic-based cooking school, and it was church-based. Almost everything was about God and what He wanted us, but in a more Catholic-based way. So, it was a very interesting experience, but I took a lot from it. It is about discipline. It's about showing up, being responsible, being a person that shows appreciation in different ways, honoring thy mother, father, of course, respecting each other, loving each other, having empathy for each other. And the other thing was forgiveness. Forgiveness is something that I really feel like was the one thing that stood out for me. And I'm going to tell you why. In the Catholic Church, they have this session where they host every week, and you can go there and they share your confession to Father, like behind a screen. It's so funny because the parallels of what I was talking about last year, Father Stew was just the same thing. So you stand or you sit behind a screen and then you tell Father, Father, I've sinned, and then you tell him what you've done, and then he will maybe suggest a verse to read and something to do. It's similar to therapy. Like in therapy, you tell them this is what I'm struggling with, and then they give you homework. And that homework essentially will then help you into betterment and fixing whatever it is that you feel like needs attention or they feel like needs attention. So it's a little bit of homework. But one thing that I struggled with when it came to this was that some people would go to confession, come back, and still be bad people. Like, they do acknowledge that they have done certain things and have done them incorrectly, or have hurt someone, or have gone against what the Bible say, but they go back into being bad people. And that really messed me up, because I didn't understand how someone can go in confession every single week and then come back and be a terrible person to deal with. So, with that, it speaks to how we rely so much on the church to fix people, or make sure that its people comply by the rules that are given by the Bible, which the Bible does provide values that sort of make it easy to live with others, meaning that you need to be mindful of hurting others. Yes, it has values that sort of instill character building within self, but also it shows you how to live with others. And something that I struggled with was that people were just horrible and then they'd go to church. But for me, I looked at church as this is the one place in which people would be held accountable. But there's something that I just realized recently. There is a saying in church that goes, "Come as you are." And it is problematic in a way. I do understand it in a sense that come as you are means that you do not have to be perfect. Come as imperfect as you are. Come with your flaws. And then I think that the thing that people do not get is that it also means that you need to be taking steps to be improving. You can't come as you are. Every single Sunday, you're coming as you are. You are a distraction to society every single day, and then Sunday, you're coming as you are, because don't forget that the church accepts just anyone. But this place is not holding people accountable. This place is not saying that, yes, you can come as whatever you are, but you should not take the initiative to act on the things that make you terrible to others. Deep down, we don't see that this is just for us to sort of answer to something. So, for example, I answer to myself. I really feel like everyone answers to someone. It doesn't matter whether you're big or small, you're the government, you're a kid, you always answer to someone, whether it's your parents, whether it's to the community, everything. I mean, everyone answers to something or someone. And I answer to myself. I need to go back at the end of the day and look in the mirror and say, oh, that wasn't cool, or what I did wasn't cool. I need to think of how it made the other person feel. And I think that the church was serving as the mirror to you need to think of someone else too. Well, that's what I think that it was. But I really feel like people find peace in church in a sense that they feel like if they are in the church, they are surrounded by sinners too. So it is okay to sin. I struggled with that particularly. There is someone that was once close to me, and this person was downright, I don't want to say downright evil, but they were evil. They don't treat their children properly, they are abusive to their children. And on a regular Thursday, you'd find them playing a church song or church songs throughout. Their radio would be on so freaking loud, and they'd be singing and doing laundry at the same time. But I'm thinking to myself, you talking about, oh God, how great you are, how good your mercy is, that we can come to you as your children. Oh God, I have been such a good person. Please help me. Da 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 da. But you are an evil person and you're out here playing gospel. There was a disconnect to me when I'd see something like that. Why am I forced to go to this institute whereas it doesn't make people better? This is something I am still struggling with, and I'm still fixing my relationship with God in that regard. My relationship with God is still okay. I still pray. But that element of going to church is something that I still need to fix. I still need to look into as to why I'm doing it, and I'm doing it for the right reasons and not for anyone else. I'm not saying that going to church right now is doing it for other people, because essentially that's what the argument comes down to. No, you do not go to church for other people. Just because this person is doing wrong, it doesn't mean that you need to look at them. But my fear is that actually, what if I turn out like these people? What if I turn out to be a horrible mother? What if I turn out to be a horrible friend? What if I turn out to be a horrible partner because I just cannot see humanity in its whole? I see it just as the Bible, and umfundisi is the only important thing to me, the only important person to me, and I need to do everything for the church. If I'm cooking drumsticks, it belongs only to the church, whereas my family is going to have chicken livers for the whole month. I feel like sometimes it steals our service to the very people around us, that we just feel like we owe everything in us to the church. So, with that, I just feel like it loses its importance, meaning that people interpret it a certain way. They don't see it as, I also need to show up for the people around me. It's only about the church. You cannot be earning, for example, 1,000 Rand and giving the church 400 Rand and thinking that, oh, yeah, God is going to answer my prayers. I'm not saying that He won't. I'm just saying that it is a gamble. It's a risk, because I don't think God would want that. God advocates for taking care of yourself first. You need to pour into yourself first. You need to pour into your own cup first. And then you can pour into other people. How are you pouring from an empty cup? Now you gave away 400 Rand to the church. You have 600 Rand. You have bills. You have rent. You have transport. And this, I'm just making an example. Of course, all of this will not cover everything. But I'm saying that there needs to be sense around what you're doing and why you are doing it, because essentially God gives you these blessings in order to bless yourself and move forward. So once you are in a more comfortable position, then you can give yourself, you can give the church this much money or these resources or this amount of time. And I think that it is important to always remember that just because you pour into your cup first, just because you serve your people who are directly amongst you first, it doesn't mean that you are selfish. In fact, it is selfless, because you will not be out there looking for help from others. The other reason why women in particular they love the church so much. Women in particular love the church because they think that it saves them from misogyny. And it is one of the places that actually practice misogyny a lot. If you look at how they treat a single mother versus a married woman, it's very different. The church is one of the places that is misogynist. And the other thing is that I see that there is a number of older women trying to get their younger children into going to church, especially their girl children have to go to church. And I'm not saying that it doesn't happen to male children too, but I feel like they try to shield the girl child from the harshness of the world through going to church. Because if you look at what the church says, you have to get married and have the kids, and then your husband will be your pillar of strength as long as you are submissive. But the thing is, the issue is that it's not always the case. It's not always the case. In fact, some people come out divorced, battered, and are in very abusive situations just so they can prove that they are the good wives and life is going better for them than someone who is single. So it just hit me that the other reason that parents want to send their kids to church is to have this unspoken obedience, unquestioned obedience. And it is not always sinister, but sometimes it is a way to put the child in line to remember that they need to honor their parents no matter what, even if the parent is harmful, even if the parent is abusive or does anything that is out of line, the community will support the parents first.
Guys, not my mom locking me outside of the house because I didn't want to go to church. She really locked me outside of the house. Banjani abazali? Zibhula abazali, guys. And I was not going to give in. Uye wathi ba awufuni xa uzophuma ngaphandle. Ndathini? Ndaphuma.
I don't think that misogyny is something that you can fix through yourself. That is like saying if you speak better English or you learn Afrikaans, then you will be pardoned in the racial aspects. People will not be racist to you because you excel in these spaces. You cannot shield yourself from being stereotyped and being attacked for things like that. These things are systematic. So there is no way you can dodge misogyny. It's just something that is there. The only thing that you can do is become stronger. And I don't feel like the church reinforces that. In fact, in a lot of situations, they are not for feminism. It depends because they are for you going to school and they are for you getting jobs and driving the big cars. But in terms of supporting all women and their choices, it's not a big thing. Now, I do agree with certain things. For example, I do see why there was a rule of you have to sort of wait for marriage before you have sex. That is something that I get behind, especially for girls. I know it sounds a bit pick me, but I'm not trying to be a pick me. I'm trying to also bridge this gap where there is a misunderstanding or misalignments when it comes to this. I do see why it is important. Girls are more emotional, so when they are connected to men sexually, they do not perform well in future instances, and they feel like sex is equal to love. And we see that everywhere in media. Like you see all these situations where men just become weird after sex. So if you at the very least secure the ring, then maybe you will be in a better position. But also we do see stories of virgins that come back and say, oh my gosh, it was horrible. Yes, I stayed a virgin until marriage, but the man did not treat me right. First, I just want to say that I'm not saying that women should wait for sex until marriage. I'm just saying that the rule is there for a reason, but it is a missed opportunity of educating the girl child as to why it should be that way or it can be that way. And the second thing that I want to say is that liberation lies so much about what sex means between a man and a woman. There's always this equality thing, but then when you have sex as a woman, you are shamed for it, per body, by the way. And then the third thing that I want to say is just like the parents, the church does not actually sit down with the girl child and explain to them what happens when they lay with a man and they have these promises and big dreams that whenever they are giving themselves, then it means that they are loved. And I think that's where the gap is, and I hope that churches start to educate and parents start to sit down with their girl children and really educate them about what sex means, what standards they can have around this. So I'm saying that girl children need the tools to be strong. They need to be strengthened. They need to be sharpened. But if you always try to shelter them from the world and try to make it seem like if you are the modest woman, you will not get the same experiences as someone who is liberal and is sexual and free. That doesn't work. So rather teach them to be strong and have strong values and strong and very high standards that would protect them. They are not going to be shielded just because they are strong. It's not that things will not happen to them, but at the very least, if things happen to them, they will sort of know what to do. They will have a reference point, which is the self. So teach them how to center themselves, how to have a strong point, a place to come back to, and sort of regroup and see how to or where to go. Because, hey, there is nothing really we can do about how we are treated. No matter how good of a person that you are, the world will be misogynist towards you.
You can be abused in a marriage. When you leave, the community will abuse you for leaving because you were abused.
The last thing that I want to point out is that people want to pressure you to go to church. And why? I think that it's because people want everyone to think the same way. There is this desperation of people wanting people to think like others. And people want to be led. And when you are not led, when you are a person that thinks for themselves, it is a problem to them, or they either see it as a threat because it means that they did not take the time to actually sit back and think for themselves. Herd mentality is important because it keeps systems working. And if you are a person that asks questions like why, what, is that true, what's the evidence, so forth, then you are a problem to society and you need to be punished in some form or way. The church does this by isolating you. They do it by making you an example of how bad life can be if you do not pray or go to church. And this whole praying thing, I don't understand. Like, as soon as something bad happens to you, it's always a case of, oh, but this is why I pray, and this is why I don't leave my house without asking God to guide me. How do you know that we don't do the same? I think that it is important for us to find out where our solace lies. And there is a quote that I read a long time ago, and it was an article on Toni Braxton. She was talking about how she sees spirituality and religion. She says that she is not a religious person. But she said something that stuck with me forever. She said that she sees spirituality as a river, and there are many streams that go into it, meaning that essentially we are one person, like we are one people. And the funny thing about it is that Muslim people look at Christianity and they're like, yeah, you are going to hell for sure. And then Christians are looking at people who practice Buddhism like, yep, you are going to hell. You are definitely going to hell. So we are all pointing fingers. And it's so interesting. Like, everyone looks at everyone like they are all going to hell. But why is this all that it's about? I don't think that it is essentially about that. We needed to find religion so that it could be a compass, so that it can be a guideline to where we are going. It doesn't mean that it is essentially everything, because ultimately everyone sins in their own ways according to every other religion. So We need to find where our center is and then go from there. And I'm not saying that religion is a bad thing or going to a church is a bad thing. I'm saying that we should not be wrapped up in these systems just because it is what's right. Why is it right according to who? Because everyone is a person and everyone is trying to find answers. And I'm not saying that these answers are wrong. I'm just saying that when they now cause you to be weird towards other people, to be mean and rude just because they do not believe what you believe, then that is where the problem lies. And that is where you need to ask why you are following and in such a system. It always frames itself as community, but it really does shun on people who do not attend their spaces or are people who are involved within that community. So with that, yeah, what do you think about this topic?